Hello, world. I'm Star Kid, and you're about to watch the first episode of a new show I like to call On the Map. This is an interview show in which me and my team will travel across the country, eventually around the world, interviewing celebrities, artists, and influencers of all calibers in an attempt to expose art to new audiences. This first episode will feature Mike Wansley, okay? Best known for his Grammy Award-winning feature on Macklemore's Thrift Shop. Now, in this interview, we're going to go over a lot of things, okay? Feel free to hop around in the video to whatever point you want to listen to, and I hope you enjoy the show. Let me know who you want to see on our show next, all right?
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for being here,
Sure.
WANZ. This is great. Being our special guest here on a show that I like to call On the Map.
Mm-hmm.
So you were born here in Seattle, right? That's where we're at? No?
Nope.
Where were you born at?
I'm the son of a sergeant, and my dad he'd been in the Army. Well, he'd been in the Army since I can remember. But I was born in Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County Hospital.
Okay.
Just like my older brother and my older sister, who are 10 and a little under 9 years older than me. And the funny thing is that we were all born in the same hospital, but none of us have ever lived there.
That's kind of wild.
Because my dad swore when he was a kid he was never going to raise a family in the South. And he never did. He came up to Fort Lewis. I guess he was stationed up here, or he came up for an exercise or something in 1954. And then from 55 to 68, he was trying to get back. Mm-hmm. And finally, we drove down here from Anchorage, Alaska, where I became self-aware. That's when my memory kicks in when I was 6, and we were at Fort Rich in Anchorage. And I remember parts of the drive coming down here. We lived kind of where the Tacoma Dome is now.
Okay.
Or actually more we were up the hill from what is now the casino, the huge casino complex.
Yeah, okay.
Used to live there, and then in the fall of 68, we moved out to Lakewood. And that's where I grew up.
Cool. All right. And let's see, WANZ, obviously your last name, Wansley. Mm-hmm. How did you decide that was going to be your artist name? Because I know a lot of people, like, they go through a process of trying to pick a name. Was it always WANZ or T-WANZ, or was it something else before?
In 8th grade, there was an English class I had in junior high, and there were 5 mics.
Okay.
We all sat in the front row.
Gotcha.
So you have Mike Anderson.
So since high school, it just stuck?
Yeah, this is middle school.
Middle school.
Mike Anderson, Mike Smith, Mike Jones, Mike Wansley, and there was one other guy. And that was it, right? So she started calling us by our surnames. Mm-hmm. It's like Mr. Wansley, Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones, Mr. Anderson. And which is really funny because I was the small, scrawny one out of the whole pack, right? On the other side of the scale is Michael Anderson. I mean, in 8th grade, he was already like 5'10". So you obviously knew what he was going to do. He was going to play basketball. Long stream being a guy, and that's what he did. But because she started doing that, of course, Anderson became Andy, Smith became Smee, Jones became Jonesy, Wansley became Wanz.
Cool. That's what's up. I like that. Yeah. And how long have you known Joey here now?
Since 86, 87.
I had university coffee when you were working at Tower Records.
Yep. I think I met you at a Young Fresh Fellows party.
Probably. I've been curious about your pink suit that you wore on the TV. Did that happen to come from Leroy Menswear, by any chance?
Certainly did.
Yeah, Leroy Menswear. That's like the spot, apparently. It's what Joey told me where...
It used to be, it was a legendary place.
Yeah.
That's where all the brothers that were in town could come in town and get what they called pimp suits.
Okay.
Right? And if you didn't know what a pimp suit is, basically... for those who are listening, just Google Huggy Bear.
Okay.
Just Google that, Huggy Bear.
He was Smokey in the Bandit, right?
No. He was Beretta.
He was the pimp in Beretta.
Yes. And that guy, he always had the long, flowing cape, always had it looked like silk, pants and always a matching suit. Always had a nice fedora on with a big long feather on it.
Like a goldfish living in the bottom of his shoe?
No, not that drastic. Besides, back in the day, it's like goldfish only lived in the shoes of hookers. Only hookers wore shoes that tall.
Gotcha.
I was looking through your resume and I noticed that you'd done some tenure in the range hoods.
Yes.
I'd totally forgotten about that.
Oh, really? That's another hangover from Ellensburg. It's like, what's really weird is like I've lived in this 110-mile circle, right? Grew up in Lakewood, graduated high school, and that fall I went over to Ellensburg and started going to school there. Went home the first summer, stayed up there, worked 2 more summers, and then stayed there until '86 when I moved, and I moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
And I've never lived outside of that circle.
Okay.
And in Seattle, I've never lived south of the U District. I've always been in the North End.
So, tell me about your band, the Ghetto Monks. I must have missed that whole thing. I mean,
Do you want the Ghetto Monks first, or we want to stay chronological, and I'll get you to the Range Hoods?
Yeah, let's start with the Range Hoods. You
So
were a
the
bassist and singer?
Well, I got bored really easy. Music has always been the kind of thing that I've always been able to do, like
Yeah.
most people breathe. If I grew up on the radio. If I could hear it, I could sing it. And if I could sing it, I learned that I could play it. Right?
Love that, yeah.
Not that I'm like any virtuoso or anything, but I could get around, It's like
You got the touch, you got the gift for
well,
sure.
I mean, I can figure things out, which came in handy. The summer of '82, I was working out of Longmire and was selling firewood at the Cougar Rock Campground, 2 miles from Longmire. And I borrowed a bass guitar from a friend of mine. I had a book, and I went through the book.
Nice.
And that's how I learned how to play bass.
Yeah,
Right?
he's been teaching me how to play bass over the past few months.
Yeah,
I love it.
So I came back. When I came back, I was living off campus with another friend of mine, and he had a band that was playing in the basement. They were rehearsing. And yeah. Remember the Cars song? I guess you're just what I needed.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so there's that little syncopated hiccup in the middle of it. So the bass player was missing it. And I was sitting upstairs going,
I can hit this. I know.
it's driving me nuts because I don't, over and over again, he's screwed up the same part.
that was a band practicing that you had to listen to.
That was a band
covering
of
that.
guys that I was familiar with, but I didn't know them, right? They were a friend of one of my roommates. So I went down and sat on the staircase and was looking at him. And finally, I spoke up and I go, you're not playing that right. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, well, it goes, and I sang it to him how it should go. Oh, really? Why don't you think you're so smart, why don't you just play it?
And you did.
And so I came down and, put the bass on and put the fingers on and sung it.
I remember one time when you fixed the bass parts in a band that I was in.
Yep.
Never sounded as good.
What was that? What band was that?
Soul Jelly.
Soul Jelly.
So, I played it with the band, gave him the bass back, and went back upstairs.
Yeah.
Right? The next week they came, bass player guy was gone. Hey, WANZ, yeah? Well, think you want to join our band? And there started my bass career in a band called The Suspicions.
The Suspicions.
Yeah. And what was really tight is I used to hate rock.
Like hate it? Like
Not yet. I mean, I really didn't like rock and roll at all. And this was right about the time that, people were really down on disco, and they wanted, right before the football game or baseball game, when they brought all the records to the stadium and they ran over them with a forklift. They ran them with a steamroller.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right around those times, right? But I remember my sophomore year, they'd have this preview week, which is freshmen come in a week early to get orientated with the campus and whatnot before the upperclassmen come. And a couple of friends of mine were walking through a girls' dorm. Dun, 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 dun. And there were 2 bands that I could not stand. I couldn't really stand Jimi Hendrix.
Really?
Couldn't stand Led Zeppelin, but I really hated REO Speedwagon.
Really?
I'm with you on that one.
Oh my God, I hated those guys. We're walking on the second floor, dun, 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 and it's like And I ride in the storm out, rain. Walk around the hall, doors open. I walk in the door. Girl sitting on that side, girl sitting on that side, stairs in the middle. Click, turned it off, and walked out. And my friends are like, their eyes are as big as saucers. What? Do you know them? No. What did you do? I had to save them.
Took it upon yourself.
I took it upon myself to save them. It's so funny. And I mean, to this day, there are friends that I went to college with, and they said, I remember when you walked in my room, and I was playing this, or I was playing that, and you just turned my stereo off. Used to do shit like that all the time. But the Heats played out in Ellensburg. I had a science class in the afternoon, and I could hear them. They were playing outside, and I could hear them across campus.
Okay.
Thought it was horrible.
Okay.
Fast forward 2 years, and they're going to play at what was the biggest bar in town called the Ranch, which is an old 1920s airplane hangar.
Yeah.
Big,
That
huge
sounds
Quonset,
cool.
Rounded top, the whole nine. Place was legendary. And I had never seen that before. I'd
Yeah.
never seen a rock band like that before. Now, the capacity of the Ranch was about 600 comfortably. There were over 800 people in that room.
Yeah. A little crowded.
Yeah, to say the least. But it was amazing. It was amazing.
Was that the experience that like made you appreciate rock?
No,
And-
actually, being in the Suspicions is what made me, because
Cool.
they had me play all these songs like 20 Flight Rock. They just played the chords, and I just put a bass part to it, you know. Train in Vain, they just played the part. I just put a bass, you know.
Yeah.
No, it's a little bit like this, and then do this little slide. Okay, great. There was a Bruce Springsteen song we did too. Oh, and then we did do Brand New Cadillac.
Yeah.
Right?
My baby drove up in a brand new Cadillac. Really classic.
I'd never heard these songs before.
Yeah.
I was in that band for over a year before I started hearing the original versions of that. Marshall Crenshaw, Someday, Some Way.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I never finished about the ring. This is about me. It's like everything for me is a story. I'm talking about the Heats, and I ended up meeting the Heats that night that they played,
Yeah.
and talking to the bass player who was playing through a phase linear stereo 400 stereo amp, not a concert amp, not a sound reinforcement amp. It was a stereo amp, 400 watts.
Wow.
That's what he played bass through.
For 800 people that were
It was
there. right?
amazing.
That's
Dude,
cool.
It was amazing. I was an instant fan,
Cool.
and that got me. You know, meeting Pearson turned out to be revolutionary, because after the Heats broke up, he formed a band called the Range Hoods.
Right.
And the guy that owned the ranch was a friend of mine, and he was going to have the Range Hoods, this brand new band, Pearson from the Heats, is going to come to Ellensburg. They've done like 2 or 3 gigs here in Seattle. So they come over, and Bob Wynn, my friend, made me put together a band, and we didn't know what to call ourselves. We called ourselves Boys Will Be Boys.
Okay.
So we opened for him, and one of the songs that we did was I Don't Like Your Face.
That got quite a bit of airplay on KJet, as I recall.
did. It was like, at the time, it was it was like, that was their ticket, actually.
Okay. I don't like your face.
You might be cool some other place, but yeah. So
Cool.
we asked Steve to come up and sing it with us. He forgot the second verse. He wrote that song.
I do that.
How does that? Yeah. Why does that happen? Because I forget my own lyrics too. Like,
Why, you ask, why does it happen?
Yeah.
Everybody's different, but my assumption is like everybody like me is thinking about 100 other things other than what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Because you just do it, right? It's kind of muscle memory type stuff. I mean, I sang about a month ago, I sang the national anthem in front of 26,000 people.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, and it's like
You're not even thinking about
streaming.
it.
And I'm not thinking about the song.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, oh, this is where people screw up.
Yeah. And then I get it.
Yeah.
the day, the St. Patrick's Day last year when we did my going away party to Montana, and you and Lisa got up and did Babylon, I totally forgot her name, and I know her really well, and it was just like
Embarrassing.
so embarrassing. It
Yeah,
hit me
yeah.
later.
But you know, you all of a sudden after things like that happen, you covet your AARP subscription, right? Because there's articles on this shit.
I didn't even realize who she was until about the second verse. I went, "Oh fuck, she sang on the record. What's wrong with me?" You know, like.
Man. So that same night, after we got done with our set, the Ranchers come up and they start doing stuff. They're gonna do Face. And, you know, here's Steve standing up there in his cowboy boots and his big jumbo Super 400 Gibson, you know, playing through the AC-30, which could peel paint off a can.
Damn.
And he asks me to come up and sing it. And I didn't forget the words.
Nice.
Sang his
I
song,
sang his song. I sang his song with his band.
That's crazy.
So needless to say, the next time I showed up at a Ranchers gig and he spotted me, he asked me to come up and sing that song. And over the years it grew into any time it was a Heats song, he didn't want to sing anymore, I would sing it.
Cool.
Right? And I always had the same cue, because when they started to play that was my cue to leave, because I hate the Rolling Stones. And they always, and they used to make fun of me because I hated the Rolling Stones. They tried over and over, the bass player and Pearson tried to convert.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you, Wansley? And I'm like, I'm sane. If I had to choose between, because back in the day, either you were a Beatles person or you were a Stones person.
Couldn't be both.
You couldn't be both.
Yeah.
You know? So I picked the Beatles because they had a movie.
Okay.
And Help, the movie, was my favorite.
Cool.
It was awesome. And some of the coolest songs are still, you know, 3 records, you know, the first 3 records that changed my life: Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Help.
Nice.
So, how did you get in? Are you a trained opera singer? How did you get into the Seattle Opera from Porgy and Bess?
You've done that 2 different times, right?
Yep, 2011 and 2018.
18.
The only time that the opera production has been done 2 out of the 3 times the opera production, because there's an opera production and there's a Broadway musical. And the musical gets done all the time, but you have to get special rights from the family
To do the opera.
And
Yeah.
they did it, I think, in 2005, and they did it again in 2011. And one of the people that I used to sing in jazz choir with at college, taught voice lessons, she called me up and goes, Seattle Opera's looking for African-American singers. You need to audition, blah, 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 blah. I'm going, I've never done that before. I know you can sing, but went over to her house, learned a piece of music, went and auditioned, got a call back, came back, had another lesson,
That's awesome.
went back down, auditioned, and boom, I was in the chorus.
Yeah.
I became the blind man from Catfish Row.
Yeah. Cool.
It was dope.
And that whole opera or play has to do with like community, you know, and
Yep.
like
That is that
Yeah.
that whole opera is about a small community, Catfish. It's called Catfish Row, right? In the
South Carolina. Is that
No.
where does it take place?
That's a good question. It's a very good question. You might be right. Might be South Carolina. I always thought it was Georgia. Anyway, all I know is that there is this guy, kind of the mainstay of the community, Porgy, who falls in love with another woman whose name is Bess. And there's all sorts of things going on because Porgy's really shy, doesn't know how to approach Bess, and you know, word gets out that he likes her, and so she starts looking at him, and then it's a story of there's people trying to keep them apart, and Sport and Life is the pimp, and he's trying to like poison everything. He's the snake in the grass.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know, it ends up that Bess ends up leaving Catfish Row with Sport and Life because she's hooked on dope. And he's a supplier. So they go off to the city, and once Porgy finds out, that's how it ends. He's walking off. He's walking down the trail, leaves Catfish Row. He's going to go look for her.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it went great the first time, and then you got to do it again like 7 years later. Huh?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's the only opera I've ever been in, but I can honestly say, I can say with great, I'm pretty sure, in the major styles of music, because now there's so many subgenres, it's impossible to figure it out.
For sure.
But as far as like the major, I've done them all. The choir teacher from my sophomore year, he just retired, and he's on Facebook, right?
Okay.
And he was like thanking all of his students, and he's one of three guys, and three guys. If it hadn't have been for three teachers, never would have gone anywhere with music. First one was Ben Keller. I had him in junior high school, and it was his second year of teaching. And once Facebook came out and we connected, I had hung out. We hung out with each other and kept track of each other.
Yeah.
When I got to high school in the same district, it was Bernard Krause, and he just retired. And then when I was going to high school, I went to a music camp at Pacific Lutheran University, and the choir teacher there is Ed Harmick. And when Dr. Keller retired, these three guys are all in the same place, and I went to that concert, and I have one picture. And I've always said if it wasn't for these three guys, Thrift Shop would have never happened.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because those three guys kept me. When all was said and done, got picked on and beat up in elementary school, became a loner in middle school, junior high, and then by 11th grade, I started figuring out that there was another world outside of the one that I knew.
Yeah.
And started meeting people from from those worlds, from other high schools, other school districts, and they didn't treat me like these other kids did. And that's what made my decision to go to Central. Well, that was part of it.
Yeah.
The other part was I knew my parents were not going to come over a mountain range to come see me every weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, shouts out to those teachers, for real.
Yeah. Man, Ben Keller, Bernard Krause, and Ed Harmick.
That's awesome.
I think a lot of people viewing this show will already realize that you're the voice in Thrift Shop.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit.
Perform that song these days?
In Seattle, usually. But everybody, they used to ask me all the time, why aren't you out touring with him when he goes out, like for the Gemini record and his other records? Why don't you? And I'm going, you don't understand that. I learned a lot. I learned a lot since the night after playing the Fillmore in San Francisco, which to me was like Mecca. You said the Cowsills, and I remember seeing their poster a few times. They're on a few bills.
It was Bill Graham Presents everything.
Bill Graham Presents. Yes. I used to listen to that on the floor of my bedroom. And here I was going to do a sold-out show there, and you take a tour. You can take a tour, and they show you around. It's legendary. Every pillar of rock and roll has played there, and all of them have a poster. And I have a poster there, too.
That's badass.
I know, right? But it was so heavy for me, I broke down in tears. Because this is all I ever wanted to be. And that's when it became real. Because I'm in a place where all the legends have played. Mamas and the Papas, the Cowsills, Fifth Dimension. Everybody had played this room. Man. And it was magic. Next day, I'm lost by the Presidio looking for a credit union. And my phone rings and my boss asks me, when are you going to come back? And I go, you know what? For a guy my age, 51 years old, an opportunity like this probably isn't going to happen again. And I just walked away. That's the only job I've ever walked away from.
What job was that?
I was a software test engineer at a place called Care Guidelines.
Okay.
Company's still here in town. I still keep up with what they're doing and talk to the owner on LinkedIn every once in a while.
Okay.
Because of course, after the first 4 or 5 months, or actually it didn't even take that long, Halloween party after I've left, it's all of 2 weeks I've been gone.
Yeah.
I came back dressed in the suit for the Halloween party.
Yeah.
In the pink suit?
In the suit.
So tell me, out of all the national TV shows you did, Ellen, SNL, there's one more, right? At least one more.
You also had
Fallon.
Jerry, yeah.
So which one, Which was the best experience of all of those? Fallon?
Without question.
He was actually a nice person, right?
He's exactly as he presents himself.
Cool.
He's always that way.
Yeah. He seems like he'd be a gas.
Oh my God. He was. That was like the most surreal thing. Well, the second most surreal thing. I'll tell you the other surreal thing. But
Okay.
so I'm standing just off to the side out of a camera shot for the start of the song. It's in commercial break. And all of a sudden, Jimmy gets up from behind the desk, comes scurrying across the stage, over to me, sticks out his hand, shakes my hand and goes, "Kill it!" And then runs back.
I could just.
And it was like
that's a trip.
5, 4, 3, 2, boom, and he like introduces us. We do Thrift Shop, and it's like boom, 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 right? And that's the last song. So he's up in the audience as the show's going out, and comes back down, and he's shaking hands with everybody, and it finally gets to me, and he grabs my hand, and he goes, "That is how you kill it."
That's awesome.
Amazing.
What a memory! That must be amazing.
It gets worse.
Oh,
Okay.
It gets worse. So, because of Thrift Shop and stuff, I had, these mad fantasies of being able to strike out on my own because this is what I wanted to do all my life, right? And so we're in Australia.
with Macklmore?
Yeah, we're in Australia, and my phone is blowing up. Dude, did you see Saturday Night Live last night? No. Did you see Fallon last night? Yeah, Justin Timberlake was on. They did History of Rap Part 4. And Jimmy sang your part. And I went, wait, what? What? So it was about 10 days later that I just happened to be back in New York. I was actually working on my own little record deal and just happened to meet this record guy in Chelsea. Walked into this restaurant, and as we're standing there waiting for the table to clear, there in the back of the room is Jimmy Fallon.
Did you say anything?
And I still
Had to.
Oh man! Start walking through. The guy, the matron, the host is bringing us to the table, and they turn left to go to the table. I'm walking straight. And I got about 20 feet away, and I'm like, "I'm gonna pop some tags." And his eyes got all big. He goes, "Oh my God!" And I go, "I got a bone to pick with you, dude. You couldn't call a brother. I mean, you couldn't like wait for me to come. You couldn't bring me. You had to just go and do that." He goes, I'm sorry. Mea culpa. So we talked, and then I told him why I was there, and he got really excited, and so my manager talked to his producer, who he was having lunch with, and landed a spot on his show singing with the Roots.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
That's cool. That's
What
super
songs did you do?
They asked me what songs I wanted to do, and I wanted to do Strawberry Letter 23.
Brothers Johnson.
Yeah. And I can't remember the others because everything went horribly wrong. So I was up early that morning. I had to be at the studio to rehearse with the Roots at 2 p.m. Tapings at 4. So I've been up since 7 in 3 or 4 different studios. Noon. What is that? I'm feeling my throat. It feels kind of weird. What is that? Don't know what to start drinking tea, and it feels kind of scratchy, but I don't feel sick. I feel fine. No sniffles, nothing, right? Get done with lunch, go to the studio. What is that? Can't figure out what that is. 2 o'clock comes along, and boom, I'm in this small ass room. It's like a tiny room, and everybody is in there except Questlove, because he's in his own room, because he's the drummer, makes the most noise. He's got his own room, and everybody's on, they're on ears. Rehearsal started at about 7 minutes after 2. At approximately 2:25, 2:27, my voice up and left the building.
Oh, wow.
And I was hoarse. I couldn't talk.
Oh, man.
In the middle of recording.
In the middle of recording the rehearsal.
Oh my God.
So we hadn't even taped yet.
How did the taping go?
For me, it was a nightmare. For me, it was horrible. I mean, every commercial break, my manager and another friend of mine were bringing me in throat coat and lozenges and tea and stuff like that. But I'm talking, the voice that you're hearing now was 3 times better than what my voice was when I was sitting on that stool.
Oh, man, yeah.
It was horrible. It was just horrifying. I mean, this is the break for me.
Yeah.
Not with anybody else.
Yeah.
This is the shot. This is the thing, right, that you've always been looking for.
Yeah.
This is the plate appearance you live your life for. This is the free throws to win the game. Whatever you want to put
whatever analogy.
Whatever analogy you want to use, this is it. And we got done with the taping, and I feel horrible because it's not what I can do.
Yeah, and you know that,
and I know that. Right?
You hope that they know that as well.
It's got to be frustrating.
It was, and I'm powerless. Can't do anything. So Jimmy comes over and he shakes my hand, and I go, "I'm sorry, I lost my voice." He goes, "That's okay. You'll just have to come back then." Which I was like, "Oh, okay." But after about a week after that happened, and I'm lying in bed here in Seattle watching the show, and then I watch it another night, and then I watch it another night, and it hits me. People get guest shots on that couch when they're releasing a record or a movie or some series, or they're doing some kind of book thing or something. They have something. I had nothing.
Product to promote, exactly.
I had nothing. And nothing.
And what year was it that you wrote a book? It was hashtag the Book of WANZ. There was like a series of sayings and phrases that you coined over time, and some of your tweets and stuff over time.
Right before
you ever thought about writing another book or anything?
Right before I quit my job, I'm in a van, big Kline van with 2 dancers and a string player and a couple of other people, and I'm talking to my youngest kid who's sleeping on my floor. He's staying in my apartment because he left his mom, and so he's watching my apartment, and he's, of course, doing what teenagers do, and I'm like, no, you don't, please. You know, I get off the phone with him, and I said something. It's just a phrase out of nowhere, which was something that my dad would do. He would say these little pithy phrases, right? And Andrew looks at me and he goes, "Wow, that would be a great tweet." So I tweeted it out.
And over time,
every show, I would go out and talk to these kids. Because I'm a student of the game. I mean, I used to watch all the TV shows, read all the magazines. I mean, how many high schoolers did you know that would go to the record store just to read Billboard every week?
right?
See chart positions and talk about different artists, different labels and stuff. Me and my best friend, that's what we did.
Cool.
Go to a concert and it's like, why is he playing that? Why is he playing that? Well, who produced the record? I can't remember. You have to go home. Take out the jacket.
Because you can whip out your phone.
There was no Google. There was no searching. You had to go find things. So being a student of the game, I'd never seen anything like this. There were kids out there. Doors don't open until 6. It's 8:30 in the morning, and there's 30 kids sitting out there waiting, which before noon became 100.
Yeah.
And before 2 o'clock was 1,000. I'd just never seen this before.
Yeah.
And two things, well, I just talked to them. And what I started realizing is there were so many similarities between these kids who were living in different countries, were not even close to being related to each other, but they had these same challenges, mental challenges, right? Challenges to their self-esteem. And the odd thing was, because I'm 20 years older than everybody else that I'm touring with, I have exactly the same fears. You know, one day this is all going to end. They're going to figure out that it's like imposter syndrome, right? I can do my thing, right? 5 minutes, but I get my 5 minutes of fame. That's how I would start the prayer every performance night. I'd stand by myself, close my eyes, concentrate on just my heartbeat, and think, okay, this is your 5 minutes of fame. You don't know if you're going to get another one. So make sure that you're doing all those things that you said you wanted to do when you were a kid. And then I would thank my mom, who's passed away, my dad, who's passed away, and my brother, who's passed away. And I kiss 3 fingers and send that prayer up, and then I'm ready to go on stage.
Right on.
So these kids, I'm talking to these kids. One kid, we were in Stockholm, and I was just like, it was really weird, because there was a lookalike there was a Macklmore lookalike, and it was just like he looked like a 13-year-old Ben Haggerty.
Was he aware that he was a Macklmore lookalike?
It was on purpose.
I got
Had the haircut, he had the face structure. It was on purpose.
Did you meet him?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding?
And he knew who you were.
Of course. He's like a super fan.
Yeah.
He and I still keep in touch.
Nice.
Awesome.
I know, right? But in talking to him, I said, "You're all dressed up like this. You know, you don't have to do that." Yeah, but you know, I have to do this so that I can be seen. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but you know more now than you did like 2 or 3 years ago. And his face froze, and he just stopped and he looked around, looked down at the ground. Wow, I've never been told that before. And what I started figuring out is these kids, as they're going through middle and high school, no one's really brought them along and reminded them, you know, you made it this far, but you had to go through all this other stuff first, right?
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard for people to notice that on their own.
It's hard to notice that, and you know the communication breaks down, and the kids feel like the parents don't understand. The parents feel helpless because they're positive they've done something wrong, and it's just
There's a disconnect there.
Total disconnect, right? Now, the other story that always sticks out to me is Warsaw, Poland. Kids were there at 6 in the morning. I've gotten up from a bus, right? I always got up with the riggers because I was sleeping on the production bus because I am 20 years older than everybody else, all the other performers, and it's like I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I'm not hanging with them. So, and then Ben and Ryan, they have their own bus, so I'm up early and I walk out and there's 15, 20 people waiting out there, and I haven't even had breakfast yet. Go have breakfast, come back out, start talking to kids, and I meet this girl. End up coming back and talking to her all throughout the day, right? And it gets to be late afternoon, and I finally asked her, all right, so what do you think the show is going to be like? She goes, oh, I'm not going. Wait, what do you mean you're not going? Oh, I didn't have money for a ticket. And she started crying. And I went, you came all this way just to stand in line? You're not going to the show? And she says, no, I just was hoping that maybe I would see him, and that would be that, you know, maybe see him going into the building or something, right? And I was like, oh, well, you want to come in and see sound check with me? And she's like, you're kidding. And I'm like, no, I don't kid like that. So sound check's going to happen. We're walking into the auditorium. Tears are starting to stream down her face.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
And she's like doing her thing. She's like, you know, watch the whole sound check and stuff. And I told her that there'll be 2 tickets waiting for you and where to get them and stuff. And you know, this is the nicest thing that anyone's ever done. This makes me so happy. I just wish that there was a thrift shop in my town. There's no thrift shop in the town that I live in. And I went, I didn't think about it while I was saying it. It just popped out. Well, why don't you start one? Long pause. She hadn't even thought about that.
Wow.
She'd never considered that she could go get the hand-me-downs from her friends and stuff and start her own thrift shop.
Yeah.
It was like turning on a light bulb, and all of a sudden she went from very, very sad to very, very happy.
Yeah, a new way of thinking.
She went to the show, and I never saw her again. I don't know.
It'd be great.
That'd be really cool if she has a thrift shop running. You know what I mean?
But what I learned is, and these are the things that I would tweet about, right? There were a lot of things that my dad had told me, and I didn't get them until I was in my early 40s. Nothing beats a try but a fail. I didn't know what the hell that meant, right? I was so used to failing, it was like, I don't, you know.
At least you tried.
Yeah, at least you tried.
You gotta take some satisfaction in that.
Yeah, and you know, one of his other sayings is there are a lot of things in this world I can do without. Information is not one of them. So those tweets that I put out over the course of the tour, when I got done with the tour, what do I do now? Well, I'm talking to Andrew, and he's like, I don't know, you got a whole bunch of them, why don't you just collect them and make a book out of it? I don't know how to make a book. So I go on the internet, figure out how to make a book.
Yeah.
And there was a small little place called Book Trope and
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, they had a chapter up here, and it just so happens that I was an auction item for some charity, and the person who won the bid to have lunch was an author on Book Trope.
Oh, wow.
So she connected me, and it was like, okay, so I had to go through and sort out all these tweets and stuff like that. And while you were gone, we were talking about, Rob Morgan did the cover for it and how I explained it to him, and he finally figured it out and got it all put together, and I put out a book.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have a little small book. Hashtag the Book of Wands, because that was the hashtag.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
Hashtag the Book of Wands. Simple.
Published like 2015.
Yep.
Yeah.
2015. You can buy it on Amazon now, print to order, that sort of stuff. It's still there.
Yeah.
To Nate Dogg.
That's another thing.
To Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
Well, you said 2015.
Yeah.
So kind of all this stuff kind of happened around the same time.
That track is awesome. And to be honest, until Joey put me onto that track, I never realized the similarities in y'all's tone. And it's like,
that's the reason
I grew up listening to Nate Dogg,
The whole thing is the call was, this producer friend of mine is looking for a singer who sounds like Nate Dogg. That was me.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. I never realized how similar that was until it was presented to me.
We came out of a show from the new TD Gardens, which used to be Boston Gardens, right? Mm-hmm. Glad handing it. It's the end of the night, and we're going to the bus and walking past the line of the barricade, taking pictures, signing things, blah 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 blah. I hear on the other side of the first row, oh man, he's just trying to be like Nate Dogg. He's just riding coattails. He's just an imitator. And I wasn't gonna confront this guy. He doesn't know, but I was pissed off.
Yeah.
Got back to the bus. Oh yeah, okay. And I 8 bars, just a beat, right? Got up the next day, took those 8 bars, reworked this, do this as a boom. I had the beat to go through the whole thing. I had an idea of what it's going to be, what the chords are going to be. Day later, I had the hook.
Yeah.
And I sent it to my friend here, Grinch, not knowing that Grinch knew Warren G.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I ping Grinch back. What'd you think of the track? Oh man, I thought the thing was fire, man. I sent it to Warren. Warren who?
Warren G.
I went,
that's crazy.
Wait, what? Yeah, I sent it to Warren G.
It's crazy the things that
skinny ass white dude, bald white dude, he knows all the rappers. He's like an encyclopedia of rappers, and he knows them all.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was sitting on pins and needles for 2 weeks, waiting. What's he gonna say? Finally, after 3 weeks, Grinch hits him back, say, what do you think of that joint, blah, 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 blah. His reply was, save the last 12 for me.
That's cool.
And I'm like, no way. And Grinch is in my ear saying, Warren doesn't do features. He doesn't do features. I mean, off the top of his head, he goes, off the top of my head, I can only think of 5 features he's ever done since '93 when he broke.
Yeah.
He doesn't do features.
I mean, I imagine the whole Nate Dogg thing, in memoriam type deal, had a soft spot in his heart.
I don't know about that, but what I do know is that when I heard the verse that he did, there was no way I was going to put it in the back.
Yeah.
I had to put it first because that was his friend.
Yeah.
Talking to Grinch, it's like I learned more about 213 and West Coast Connection and all this, and how long those guys had been together. Now, I already skipped over the part where I actually met Warren G at South by Southwest.
Nice.
And he wanted me to come onto his set and do Regulators with him.
Nice.
This
What year was that?
Nondescript guy, this is 2013.
Nice.
Nondescript guy that I didn't know had gotten a hold of me, and he had gotten a hold of Warren, and he put us in a room in an office building. And now here I am meeting Warren G.
Wow.
Talking about me doing Regulators. It's like 2 days ago I found out about this. So for the day and a half it took before the meeting, I'm like trying to learn the song because I heard it. I've never performed it.
Yeah.
So it turns out he and I are performing on the same day, and I told him, I'm not going to try to do Regulators. I've never performed it before, and the last thing that I want to do is embarrass Nate or you. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. So why don't you come through and sing that Thrift Shop hook? And I said, that I can do. I said, how about, we're playing at this place in the morning and your set's in the afternoon. So why don't you and your crew come and be guests, and then I'll do it. Okay, that sounds hip. We're gonna do that. So we're at Ray, can't remember the cooking woman whose last name.
Rachel Ray.
Rachel Ray. So she's got a joint there, and we're on the stage at her place, right? And it was so cool because off to the side, it's like there's Warren G and his people, and then there's Macklmore and his people, and there's a stairwell over there, and there's Kenny Loggins with his. And I love Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Kenny Loggins. Never got to meet him though. God dang it.
Oh, damn.
Just found out he was from frickin' Everett. I didn't know
What?
that.
He should do a Christmas song called Manger Zone.
Anyway, so, do the performance, and that was great. So then I take my stuff and go hang out with Warren, rolling in the big black Escalade, going to Franklin's Barbecue. It's closed. Why? It only opened 2 hours ago, but they ran out of food.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's that good. Mm-hmm. So we actually, because it's Warren G, they said, well, we have all these cutaways and these scraps. Well, we'll take those. It's like 5 pounds of fucking killer barbecue. So good. Go back to his hotel and getting ready for his thing. So what was Nate like? Oh man, he was just funny. He was a funny motherfucker, man. He always liked to have fun, and told me all the things that he liked about Nate. So I'm thinking about those things when I'm writing the hook. Mm-hmm. And that's why I came up, let's smoke a little bit and drink a little bit. Let's party all night, you better come on. Let's smoke a little bit and drink a little bit. Party in the spirit of the dog, Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's cool, the type of things that'll motivate and drive you to complete something like that.
It was very easy for me because I know what G-Funk sounds like.
Yeah.
Right? Same tempo. I didn't even realize that the song is pretty much the same tempo as I Keep Forgetting, Not in Love Anymore, which is what put Warren on the map because it's the first time they'd ever had a rapper and a singer doing a cover. That's why he's legend. No one had ever done that before him, right? So now I'm trying to, I finally get enough of it done, and I'm gonna show Macklmore and Ryan Lewis. Mm-hmm. We're on a private jet coming from New York, where we've done this in New York, and we're going to sing at the Smash benefit at the Showbox, and I'm playing them the song. And we get off the plane here at SeaTac. Let's smoke a little, and they're all just like jabbering. It's like, wow, this could be something. So a couple weeks later, I'm talking to the production people who help him do his videos. I want to do a video for this because I've already learned what happens when you don't put out a video with a song. So I want to, I don't know how to put one of those together. So they shined me on for like 2 or 3 weeks, could never meet with anybody. I never get any answers. So I said, screw it. Took a royalty check, took the guys, arranged to meet up with Warren. He got together some friends of his that had some lowriders. We all met in a part of LA, shot the video in one day.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I wanted to give him a present. I got him a leather Oakland Raiders hat. I feel so stupid, right? But I didn't know what do you get him? He loved it. He thought it was great. But and his wife was not feeling very good. She was in the hospital. And he came out and spent the whole day with us shooting that motherfucker.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we put it together. We shot it all. We did it all. And the day that we were going to fly back up here is the morning we were going to fly up here, my mom died. And it was kind of relieving because she was Alzheimer's out. And, I had already experienced at the top of the Thrift Shop ride, the one person who had always encouraged me to sing, the one person who took me to all my concerts, who always told me that I had this gift from God, was watching me on Ellen and didn't know who I was. It was heartbreaking. It was so hard. So hard. So we get done, get the video done, want to drop it on, the anniversary of Nate's death, which is March 11th. Video's not done. Song's done. Release the song. And it wasn't until after that. So it didn't get done until like midway through the summer.
Oh yeah.
Later than that, almost October.
Oh wow.
Finally got it out. But the song had already
went up
and come back down.
Yeah.
And nobody could put them together.
Damn. That's unfortunate.
Didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Because what? Nobody was helping us. Nobody was helping me. So it's like, I didn't know how to do it, so I just guessed, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I see how other people do it. It only makes sense that you do certain things, right? I've watched enough videos. I remember when MTV was brand new. Damn it. So, you just do it. And now, I still, every once in a while, I go back and look and see what the count is. And I look at the comments, and it still holds up. Mm-hmm. There are a few things that I would not have done. But when I work in groups, I'm very collaborative, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody gets a say. And if I don't like something, I'll still do it anyway if it's for the good of the group, right? That's how it's supposed to work. Mm-hmm. But after 32 years of being in bands, the last thing that I really want to do is be in a band.
Yeah, okay.
And it's really weird now. Because I'll go sit in at jazz open mics and play with some great players. God, it'd be really great to be in a band with these guys. Oh, wait a minute. Then I'd have to deal with girlfriends and schedules and jobs. And no, I don't want to do that. It's like raising kids, man.
Heard that.
Yeah, so I'm not doing that. So I've gone from trying to be a public speaker because I have this story, right?
You did have a TED Talk too. It's like you can be your own. You too can be your own unicorn. Was the name of that?
Because that's all because of the first time we went to Paris. I'm standing outside talking to kids at the show, right? Just chopping it up about nothing at all. And this 15-year-old girl looks at me and she goes, "Wanz, do you believe in unicorns?" And instantly I'm going, let's see, Thrift Shop is number one. It's the number one record in 17 countries. I'm in Paris for the very first time. There is nobody else in the business who sounds like me. This is really freaking happening. And I looked right, split second I thought of those three things. Mm-hmm. Looked at her and I went, I guess I have to. I am one.
Yeah.
And
cool.
The longer it went on, that's what stuck with me because I never saw anyone else who had walked that path, right? Mm-hmm. You see, what about Susan Boyle? Susan Boyle got picked to be on some Britain's Got Talent, right? So that's where she came from, right? But she got on a show, and producers picked her. Mm-hmm. Ben and Ryan didn't have producers. They were doing all this stuff. I used to pray for the artists that wouldn't need a record label because I was already kind of hip to how the business worked. I'd been looking at it since I was in high school. Yeah. And, back then it was distribution. They had all the distribution. They put it in the stores, right? I didn't. All of a sudden, I'm touring with this guy who is independent. He's hired companies to promo his record. He's hired a company to put it on a radio. He didn't have to have them.
Yeah.
It was just advice. You should have these guys because this is what they do. Mm-hmm. So they didn't sign him. He signed them.
Yeah.
Right? That's why wide circulation of that song. It came out in August 29th of 2012. Mm-hmm. It didn't go into wide distribution until the last week of January in 2013. Mm-hmm. And everything happened. Just like that. Yeah. South by Southwest, Saturday Night Live, all this. Doing this festival, Outlands, blah, 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 blah. We were just, you look at the skit.
Fast.
And it freaked me out. I remember when I was chicken to ask if I could, do some dates in the Northwest with you. because I'm looking at a calendar that's going all the way through August. It's August of 2012, and I'm looking at dates all the way through the end of June in 2013, and 90% of them are sold out.
That's crazy.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It's crazy.
I mean, that's the type of stuff that happens, whenever you actually do put in that effort and you try, So,
Well,
like, a lot of people, they're scared to try nowadays,
It's
and
not about-
other people make other people feel, like, corny for trying, you know
Well,
what I mean? And it's like, that's messed up.
What I learned from those kids is we all suffer from what I call the human condition.
Mm-hmm.
And the human condition is built on comparison.
Which is the
Built
thief
on
of joy.
comparison. It's like when I was learning Babylon with Joey, it's like, God, he's a really good guitar player. See him when he puts up reels, and God, he's a really good guitar player. I pick up a guitar, I can't play like that. Right?
Yeah.
So instantly, I put the guitar down. This was years ago. Right? Now I have 8 guitars. And I noodle every day. I'm still not very good.
I have like 6 of them set up in my living room, and they're all Gretsch.
I've got 4 of them set up. I've got a Paul standard. I've got a Strat. I've got a G&L half hollow body, semi hollow body Telly. I have a Squire Telly. I have a Lukather 4H, Steve Lukather's signature guitar, and 2 basses in my living room. So I can go on the other side of those and record in my DAW, right there.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm, editing parts, watching MSNBC. That's what I do.
So you went from trying to pick up a guitar to now you have 8. Yeah.
This is the 8th. I started last fall, and this is the, as far as I can remember the count, it's the 8th time I've tried to teach myself guitar.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah. And now it's like, wow, it took me this long, and then it's like, I've been taking voice lessons at Seattle Drum School from Christy Smith for like 2 years now. Hey, they do guitar lessons there. Ding! Light bulb goes on. So now I take guitar lessons.
That's cool. That's cool. He's been giving me my bass lessons and such.
He's doing great. He studies at home. He does the homework. He's like a dream to work with.
Bass is awesome, and you have to learn both sides of the fence. You get all the melodic stuff and all the rhythmic stuff.
It's groovy.
And and it's like a seesaw. Seesaw has to have that bar in the middle, and if these 2 sides don't work,
Seesaw don't work.
seesaw don't work.
Yeah.
If there's no bar in the middle, seesaw don't work.
Cool.
That's what the bass player is.
I like that. I like that.
It's like everybody stay over there. I'm in the middle, right? Because everybody's got to follow you. If the drummer's not following you, you have to make him follow you, and that's the hardest thing. If it's a good drummer, you don't need him. You can follow him. Mm-hmm. But if it's not a good drummer, you're the guy.
Heard. Right.
You're the guy. And I've been in too many bands where I was the guy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's really nothing like music. There's nothing like music because everybody can remember what grade they were in, what song was their favorite song, what they were wearing when they were listening to it, who they were with, maybe what they were eating, where they lived, what their bed sheets looked like.
Yeah.
At any given time in their life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working on a cover of New Order's I used to think that the day would never come, how my life would depend on the morning sun.
Yeah.
I feel so extraordinary. I'm sitting in the hotel room. Andrew, my roommate, is working on a test at Berkeley. He's working on it because he's getting his degree online with Berkeley College of Music. Mm-hmm. And he looks at me and he goes, I'm having a lot of trouble understanding how inversions work. Oh. Well, this is how it works. It's easier when you envision a keyboard. When you envision a keyboard, then it's easier to take these notes and you just flip the letters. Mm-hmm. Oh. But we're in a hotel room in Monte Carlo. There's a patio and the doors are open. We're on like the 2nd or 3rd floor, and it's looking out over all this water that's blue and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
In frickin' Monte Carlo. I couldn't believe it. And I just had to look and go, this is really frickin' happening. And I started thinking about all the places that we had been. The smallest gig that I remember us playing was a bar mitzvah.
Oh wow.
In Manhattan, near the waterfront, for like 13 kids.
Wow. And then
They hired Macklmore to play at the bar mitzvah.
yeah.
What the absolute fuck is that? Right? To the biggest show, which was most definitely playing Freedom Park or whatever the park is called, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
When they had the Final Four down there.
Okay.
People as far as you could fucking see. 75.
All from the power of music, man. That's crazy.
Walk out, and I mean, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing like it. And I mean, I used to see it night after night after night after night, and every single night.
You just like never get used to that,
I
really.
think my biggest show was opening for Squeeze at the Paramount.
Nice.
And it was packed, and it took my breath away, just
Yeah.
like you said, man. I was like,
It's like you walk out there and it's like, oh shit, they're looking at you.
Yeah.
You know? People always ask, oh, don't you get afraid? No, I don't get afraid being on stage. I get afraid right as I inhale before I sing the first word.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the first word,
yeah.
everything else becomes kind of challenging.
I've actually done shows where I forgot the first word. How do I start this fucking song? You know, like.
That you've written?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that happens. That happens. I became the poster child of perseverance. That's what they called me in 2013. That and all the kids that I'd known since grade school and stuff like that. They said, "Oh, thanks. You've given me more credibility with my kids." So I used to tell Macklmore, it's like, "Yeah, I'm your ambassador to the aging."
Nice.
So good, so good. And Saturday Night Live. This is the last. Then you can ask a question, but I want to make sure to get this in. Saturday Night Live was amazing in the sense that it's another thing that I remember when it was brand new, and it was like dream come true thing, right?
Absolutely.
And Kevin Hart is the guest, or is the host. And I remember when we were doing the taping, and I'm standing side stage, and I've got my ears in. We're on commercial break right before the performance, and I'm standing there and I'm doing my little prayer that I was telling you about, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, because 15 minutes ago I was looking at my Facebook, and there are people from high school who are having parties to watch this. In different parts of the country where people that I went to school with, college people, they're having parties to watch this, right? And I'm just thinking about that one October day in 1967 when I was just getting my coat on to walk across the street to where we lived, and these kids, one kid was challenging another kid. You know he can sing. No, I don't think he can sing. And all of a sudden I'm singing songs, and 2 kids turned into 5, and then we go outside, 5 kids turned into like 10. And I'm standing, and there's big flakes of snow coming down, and I hear my name from behind me. I turn around, and my mom is running across the street. She thought I had been in a fight.
Oh wow.
Or I was getting into a fight.
Right.
And she comes up.
She saw like this crowd.
Right. And she looks down, and he goes, "Are you all right?" And I say, "Yeah, Mom, I'm just singing." That's the very first thing I can remember.
That's amazing.
So to go from all of that, all the way through elementary school, junior high, high school, college, here, right? You know, the Vogue, all the shows that I've gone to at the Showbox, all the shows that I'd gone to at the Backstage, Latitude 47, everywhere, right? To this moment, side stage, in New York, taping Saturday Night Live, and all of a sudden I hear in my ears Kevin Hart say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Macklmore and Ryan Lewis." What? And my brain goes, "God built you for this shit." And I've never forgotten it. Mm. And every time I get sideways with life and I get depressed or something like that, I remember that one thing. God built me for this shit. There hasn't been another. There was never one before. There's only been me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And, you know, if I never...
And it's like, you know that, you know?
It's not only that I know that, there are witnesses.
Yeah.
Right? And every once in a while I'll go to, well, what's Thrift Shop hitting today? Last time I looked, it was at like 1.9 billion views.
Yeah.
And that was a while ago.
With a B.
With a B, right? So I'm looking at, so yeah, it's documented that it happened, right? I'm one of very few people who have had 7, not 3, not 2, not 5, 7 sold out shows in what is now Climate Pledge Arena.
That's cool. Yeah.
7. No one's ever done that before.
Wow.
So yeah, there's what my shrink would call evidence.
Yeah.
That it
No
all-
doubt.
Yeah, and now it's like kids that are, I tell them stories. They ask me what it was like, and I tell them like I'm talking to you. And the one thing, the bottom line, this is what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a public speaker because it works in any idiom that you're at. It doesn't matter if you're a carpenter. It doesn't matter if you're a bricklayer. It doesn't matter if you're a dog walker or a nanny. It doesn't matter what your profession is. If you do something that makes you happy, and especially if it makes somebody else happy, never, ever, ever stop doing it, because you just never know where it could take you. Mm-hmm. That's the moral to my story.
All right. Well, this has been insanely insightful.
Absolutely.
WANZ,
Insanely insightful.
if you're working on anything right now, tell the people what you're working on.
So right now I'm working on an album of covers, and these are pop covers that probably nobody cares about, but I do. Jim Croce, and there's a Stephen Bishop song that I'm working on, a Lionel Richie song that I'm working on, and the Box Tops will be making an appearance.
Oh. You heard that here first.
Yeah, so and then I'm just hanging out. I'm working on being a voiceover artist.
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
working on my first project, so hopefully that'll lead to something.
Something like animated or like a or
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wanted to be able,
Sick.
I mean, the current administration is taking my Social Security that I've been working all my life for.
Yeah.
So I have to do something at 63
Yeah.
years old, and I can't go back to tech because they would have hired me in the last 2.5 years, but they didn't. So who knows? I'll just pay attention because, like I said,
And we'll be on the lookout.
you gotta
man.
be paying attention, or you're gonna miss whatever opportunity is out there.
Absolutely. This has been the very first episode of On the Map. Gosh, thank you so much for being our special guest. Joey, thanks for conducting this interview with me.
Yeah.
All right, until next time.